Hello, Black Eagles. Welcome back to the Black Eagles podcast. And as so often this season, after a fantastic high, we have to come back right back to down to earth. And Beşiktaş have, done so again. They have managed to bring us back down to earth once again. Although I would argue, Sinan, this was not necessarily a poor display. I really thought we played well before the red card. Let's get into that later.
Yeah, with the caveat, right?
Yeah. So Beşiktaş went out in the Turkish Cup against Göztepe. 1-3 was the final scoreline last night in the Tüpraş Stadium. And of course, earlier this season, we already lost 2-4 against that same Göztepe. And some similarities in that match, I feel like it's a game we really didn't have to lose. It's a game that, more so than the first time we faced them this season, I feel like a game we actually had firmly in our hands and we gave it away. But let's get into that in a second. Let me introduce my co-host first from New York City, the man with the plan, the man with the report card, I should say. Go and check that out on our Patreon or our YouTube membership area, where Sinan Schwarting, my co-host, grades the players, grades the coaching staff and everyone once per month, and his second edition of the Schwarting Report is now out. Go and check that out in the membership section by clicking the join button or head to our Patreon, patreon.com/BeşiktaşPodcast, to gain access for just $1.99 a month. And the first 7 days are free, by the way. Sinan, so how are you doing? Let's get started with that. Does this still, after I don't know, 1.5 season, I don't know. It's been a weird season, right? So does this still hit you? Like, do you still carry this with you like a day later? Is this still affecting your mood or anything like that?
Well, first of all, on a technical note, I can't see the overlay, so yes, I don't. But it's not a big deal, obviously. In a way, it's fine. I see both of us. That's all that I need to see. Second of all, I'm doing well for the most part. Spring has sprung, so that's good. I'm busy. Novel's going pretty well, but to the main course, Beşiktaş. How does this make me feel? Am I still feeling it? I mean, in a way, I guess I can honestly say I haven't much thought about it since the match, which is probably a testament to the fact that it's not hitting me the way I think it probably should, and I suppose it's because of what you mentioned, right? Like, sure, we lost, but we lost under tenuous circumstances. 10 men, or even 9 men, if you consider Rashica as a non-factor to the extent that he's become. We were really quite solid before the red card, and to underscore what you said, we weren't just like looking pretty good. Like, we were building off of a huge derby win against Galatasaray, coming into this match with energy. It looked like we had like 4 chances right out of the gates, right? Yeah. I mean, we could have put this thing away, even having gone down a man shortly thereafter, with just the amount of great opportunities that we were kind of creating, right? Which is it's an important word. And yet, the stupid red card. At the time, I thought it was soft. That it didn't even look like a red card. But then, on replay, I mean, it's just the type of thing you don't need to do.
Sinan, I caught myself, and I've noticed in the past, I caught myself thinking, "Wow, we're playing great," and I don't know how long it goes back. It goes back at least like 5 years or so, 6-7 years maybe, that I feel like whenever we start a game super dominant, really eager, looking like we're gonna like trash our opponents, I feel like it always ends up badly. I remember like in the 21-22 season, early in the season with when we got Pjanic and Batshuayi and all that, like were some matches. I don't remember the specific games, but I remember thinking, wow, we're playing amazing. And then you end up drawing the game 1-1 or something. And if you remember, do you remember that 3-0 lead at halftime against Fenerbahce and the 3-3 with Burak Yilmaz and all that?
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was a game like that where we were amazing like the first half, and you're like, oh my God, this is going to be a 6-0 or something. This is going to be historic. And then you come out the dressing room and you're like a wet rag. And I don't know, I just feel every time I feel Beşiktaş are playing amazing football, whether it's like the first 15 minutes, the first 20 minutes, the first half an hour, sometimes even the first half. It doesn't happen super often, but I feel like whenever it happens, it blows up in our faces.
No, and if you really want to dig into it, right, this is kind of a recurring issue in that it's not even just about when we play well. It's like if we go up a man, right? It's almost like, if you're playing a team like you feel like you definitely should be beating. It seems like whenever we have things looking in our favor on paper, whenever things are like, oh, we got this in the bag, it always turns against us, And so that's the larger theme here.
But that's maybe
really kind of annoying.
But that's maybe a little bit like going into a match as fans. We're Beşiktaş fans, and we're like fans tend to be cocky and tend to overestimate their teams and underestimate the opponents, because obviously you're very familiar with your team, but you may not watch every game of Konyaspor, for example. So you're like, beforehand is, this should be an easy win for us. That's like the arrogance of the fan, right? But I think when you're like actually in the match and you're like, yesterday, I felt like the first half hour, like you said, we created, I think, 4 good chances. And I think like 3 or so of them fell to Muçi. Like it was going really well. And we're going to talk about, well, actually, you know what? We might just pivot to this right now, because I did actually, just different than usually, but I did get the lineups here.
There was some official scorecard.
There was some rotation in the lineup that, ultimately, in hindsight, at least if we put our Captain Hindsight hat up or cap on, it definitely ended up biting us in the ass. But one of the main takeaways was that for the second match in a row, we played 4-6-0. We played without a real striker. And going into the match, I had like, I don't know how you felt about it, but I thought to myself, that's interesting. He's doing it again. And then when you saw it, like the first half an hour on the pitch, I thought to myself, yeah, he's right.
This is fantastic.
This is
no,
it's working.
I mean,
so
look, Khan, let's also recall that last week, was it, or maybe not even a week fully, but last episode, I said very distinctly, I said I really want to see this against sides that are a little bit weaker than Galatasaray, because I feel like we can probably compensate for that high press that we've struggled with for much of the season, maybe by being able to shift back and not commit to having someone kind of be stuck up there alone on an island. And again, like, it looked great. And that's what's so annoying about the way this match ended. And perhaps it's even why I'm willing to chalk it off, because it was so good. And then, what ended up happening was so, inevitable, right? You hate to say something like inevitable, but isn't that kind of what was going through your head? The moment we went down a man was like, oh shit, here we go again. And part of my head was hoping otherwise, right? That like we've maybe turned the page on that mentality, that we're a little stronger mentally.
I did not.
There was, for me, that constant feeling like, this is like that mental fragility that we've shown, right? Because there's so many sides that can go down a man and compensate for it, right? And it's not just against us, which we've seen now numerous occasions recently, but even our rivals, they'll pull out results even when they go down a man in the league. And it feels like for us, when do they go down a man? Yeah, on the rare occasions they do. And maybe it'll be, for like 10 minutes at the end. But it just, it feels like we don't have that in our, it's not in our wheelbarrow for some reason. And I don't know.
I think it's, I didn't get the sense that, like, because in the past I feel like there have been, this season, like just recently, there have been multiple, like, mental collapses, including, against 9 men of Konya and against the 10 men of Gaziantep. Those were, I don't think that yesterday's result was down to mental fragility. It was, I think, down to, in my opinion, a bit of an overeager referee and a poor choice on Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's part to put Tayyip in. In hindsight, that's easily said, of course, because look, the first 30
That's what I was gonna say.
it was working. It was working fine. It was no problem. But then, this is Tayyip Talha since his injury. He just hasn't been good. He's been a step slow. He's nervous. You can tell. It reminds me a lot of Rodolfo when he came back from his ACL injury. Just wasn't the same player. It's a shadow of his former self. This isn't the same Tayyip Talha that we saw when he first arrived from Adana Demirspor. And the red card he takes, that's not an error. Like, for example, if you look at our game plan against Galatasaray, I was talking off air with Kartal and he said that we had luck in that game. And I said, no, we didn't. And he said, yeah, why would you say that? And he said, well, because of the red card and this and that. I was like, no, that's not true. Because if you look at the analysis of the game, the red card was a very direct result of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's plan to play constantly over that left side, over Frankowski, exploit the space he left in the back. It was very deliberate. And Frankowski getting sent off was a direct result of the tactical choices Ole Gunnar Solskjaer made. I don't think that yesterday's Tayyip Talha sending off was a result of the tactical decisions Göztepe's coach made. I think that was a little bit of a fluke of a red card. I don't think the Frankowski red card was a fluke.
That's why I'm not really willing to throw Ole under the bus for playing him in that sense, too. Because, again, as you say, it's a fluke. I'm still hesitant on the call to some extent. I feel like there's as I sort of, to quote what I said yesterday, the player sort of folds himself like a bit of origami at the moment there's any contact to kind of, make it look like it was far more aggressive. When I first saw it, I was like, that's not a foul at all. And then when you slow it down and you see it for like the 6th to 7th time, it's like, whoa, there's contact there, there's something there, and da-da-da-da-da. But like at the end of the day, they are kind of both competing for the same space. And I don't know that. Anyway, we can get into that, and I'm sure we will. But to further sort of extend my logic as far as why I don't put that on Ole. Like, look, the other option is Gabriel Paulista. Remember that nasty tackle he took in that last appearance that he made. You really want to make sure he's healthy for the remainder of this season. It is a cup game. You should feel like you can kind of compensate for his absence with the likes of a Tayyip Talha.
That's why I want to rebuttal you, because I don't agree with that, because I think the cup is the only trophy left for Beşiktaş to win this season. I don't think it's justifiable to rotate I think you need to play this match with your best team. This isn't the group stages anymore, and you're playing.
But I will say again, I don't think Gabriel Paulista is like 100%, right? Like I don't even think as far as
but regardless,
right? Like, we're kind of pulling him back in.
Sinan, it's not just the Gabriel Paulista thing. Ersin fucks up big time on the equalizer. Massive goalkeeper error.
You thought so?
Oh, it was 100% Ersin's fault. First and foremost, he sets up his wall terribly. That's his responsibility. He sets up his wall, leaving a very clear area to shoot in for Romulo, basically daring him to shoot. Hey, just come, shoot here. And then he doesn't save it. So that's unforgivable. That is 100% on the goalkeeper. 100%.
It is curious that there was an angle that was so direct for him to just like find that corner. I'm curious to, I was still so irate over the call that was made that I don't even know that I was paying very careful attention. How did that ball get past the wall? Did it go under?
He shot it next to the wall.
But it was like straight, right? There wasn't a lot of curl on it, right?
No, it was just it's just straight. It's a very poorly. Either it's extremely poorly, and this is not the first time, mind you, because Ersin has made this error before with setting up really bad walls. But either he does it on purpose to give him essentially what, because it's such a close, so close from goal. So when you're this close to goal, when you're kicking a free kick, it's very difficult to get it over the wall and get it to drop down on time to go in. So by putting your wall in one area, completely marking off one side, you're essentially making it. Well, it's not impossible. Obviously,
that should be the gap that you're covering. Is what you're saying.
The best players in the world can still get that ball over the wall and then get it to dip quick enough. But the majority of players aren't going to be able to do that. So what you're doing is essentially, okay, this part of the goal is completely covered. So let's use my camera.
Right?
Let's use my camera for a second. So like whatever that area, and then you have like a gap here on the side, and that's where you're saying, okay, that's where you can shoot, and that's where you stand as a goalkeeper, and that's where you save it, and he first and foremost, Ersin stands too much to the center.
Yeah,
and
he stays sort of behind the wall.
And secondly, he allows it in. So that is a massive blunder by the goalkeeper. And you know how I hate it when commentators say, "Oh, büyük hata, kalecinin büyük hatası." But they always used to say it when Ersin let in like a goal where you're like, eh. They always blamed Ersin. They point out what big of a mistake he made. And very often, I thought that was harsh, and I didn't agree with this. But here, 100%, and the commentator didn't even say it, but 100% that is on the goalkeeper. And it's not just the rotation of Tayyip Talha, it's also the rotation of Mert in goal. And
yeah, that's another story.
I understand.
I mean, it makes sense to have a cup keeper, right? That is something of a standard. But
it's
if you're suggesting Ersin's not up to that standard, I mean, that's tough. I don't know if I'd make that judgment either.
Well, it's very easy. Who's the best goalkeeper, Mert or Ersin?
Of course, it's Mert. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so
I just mean that, like, if I'm not going to blame Ole, but again, we're talking about Ole's decision making, right? And I think if he's sort of adhering to the kind of standard of having like a cup keeper,
yeah, but that's a standard you set. That's a standard you set as coach. And I think if you're and I'm not throwing Ole under the bus, or anything. Like, I'm not like, I think his tactics were spot on, but I do think that he deserves criticism for this decision, mainly because it's the only thing left to play for Beşiktaş. It's the only trophy left. I don't think you can justify playing a player that is clearly inferior to another. And with Gabriel Paulista, you can justify it because he's injury prone. He has only just come back from injury. So I'm not even blaming. I'm not angry about that rotation, but I am angry about the Ersin rotation. I think that is completely unnecessary. I understand where you're coming from with the cup goalkeeper and all that kind of stuff. But quite frankly, I don't give a fuck. Pardon my French. This is the only trophy left for Beşiktaş this season. We should be going all out for the cup. And we should not be playing our second goalkeeper, who has throughout the season shown that he's dropped off and he needs to go. It's
safe to say that Ole, I mean, you can read into this though, right? Ole has made the decision to prioritize fighting for third place over the cup, right? And I mean, that's something you are disputing with him. I
don't know if that's true. I think this was, like you said, somewhat. I don't know if I want to call it arrogance, but I do think it's kind of like, oh, you know what? I want to keep him. I want to keep him happy. Give him the cup games. That's what coaches very often do. But quite frankly, I think once you get to a point where, especially here, you're playing Göztepe. You're not playing İskenderunspor like Konyaspor did, right? You're playing Göztepe. Göztepe is one of the toughest sides in the Super League this season. One of the best sides in the Super League. They beat us this season 2-4 already. You are warned. Okay, Ole wasn't the coach at the time, but he should know. Like, this is a tough side to face. And if you look at the goal, Like the third goal, Ersin doesn't look great. The fourth goal, which got fortunately for him got disallowed, Ersin looks like shit. The penalty, okay, you can't blame him there, but yeah, I think it's the rotation. First and foremost, Tayyip Talha, that bites you in the ass because of the red card, but then it's adding insult to injury. It's both rotations in that same phase with the resulting free kick end up haunting you because your defender you rotated in screws up, takes a red card, and then the goalkeeper you rotated in massively fucks it and allows a goal he should never be allowing. So it's like, double jeopardy on that one situation. So I genuinely think if he would have stuck with Mert and Paulista, and Paulista ended up having to play the majority of the game anyway. I think if he ends up starting with Mert and Paulista, I think this is an easy 3-0 win for Beşiktaş. Because quite honestly, up until that red card, this was looking like it's going to be an easy night for us, right?
Yeah, well, that's for sure. I mean, you could still argue, though, even after then, right? It's 1-1, and right, we haven't lost yet.
1-1, but down to 10 men, right?
Sure, but that's what I'm just, and that was the only point that I made that I think you're disagreeing with, is that we didn't fold or whatever. There was nothing mental, but I'm just suggesting that a side should still, even at 1-1 down 10 men, if you're better than the other side talent-wise, as we
Göztepe
are, you should be able to compensate for it.
No, I don't. I think.
And even if you aren't equal talent-wise for some reason, which I don't agree with you with, I still think tactically, mentally, there are ways to gut out a result down a man that
there
it's
is,
not like
but
we've never seen that before.
It's not like we folded. We conceded a penalty really late into the game. And
late in the game, I think we folded for sure.
Well, yeah,
especially after we went down a goal.
At the end there, leading into the penalty in the second half, it definitely did feel like Göztepe were putting on a lot of pressure. But that's, I think it's a little unfair to say, you should be able to edge out the result even 10 to 11 men. I think that's not the standard. That happens, but that's an exception. And I know it's happened a lot to us this season, but that's very.
Just in the last month.
That's very abnormal, though. That's not normal. Normally speaking,
of course it's not normal. But I think if it's a big match and you're a big club, and
yeah, but it's also Göztepe is not a bad team. It's a really good team.
Not. But we're a better team. I'd still argue.
No, we're not.
Even 10 men. We should be.
We have better individual quality, but we're not. We haven't.
That's what I mean.
I don't think we're a better team.
Yeah, but that's all I mean. What you just said is what I mean. We're a better team individually, talent-wise, so we should be able, in some world, in some parallel universe, to get a result and not fold it. Especially the way we did.
If we get that penalty, which I still think was a penalty, because for me that's clearly inside the box.
Mm-hmm.
Then
no arguments there.
And if you score that. You have to score it, of course, but I think if we score that, I think the chances of us holding on for a win are significantly bigger.
Sure, but if you're playing the if game, then we could say if Tayyip doesn't get called for a red card there, and we get this result, then you aren't talking about the rotation he did there either. Maybe
I don't agree, because Tayyip makes that mistake. And he I thought it was very harsh at the time, but honestly, I think he deserves a red card. So that happens. That situation happens. The penalty situations for us happens as well. And the referee says outside, and VAR doesn't do anything. And it was clearly inside the box.
Yeah, I mean, we obviously differ on the Tayyip thing. I don't think that it merited a red.
Well,
I mean, I'll give him a foul. But
if it's foul, it's red, right? It's the last man. If it's foul, it's red.
But given the context, it's not like he stops him out of frustration because he's the last man, right? I still think it's a play that occurs naturally. So I don't know. That
doesn't matter.
That qualifies. Every contact for the last man is an automatic red card.
Yes, if it deprives the attacking team of a clear goal scoring opportunity, it's a red card. That's the rule.
Yeah, but given the context, right? If there's a natural contact, if two people are going for the ball and it's deemed not aggressive, right, but sort of incidentally, like it's an unfair contact.
He's holding him. He's pulling him.
That's
not going.
His arms are kind of there, but that's also because he kind of like folds himself underneath his arm. I don't know. Again, like we can argue the foul, I guess, but I feel like I don't know.
Yeah, if it's flawless red, that's. And that's even like somebody said yesterday, like, oh, if only it was in the box, then he would have given a penalty, and he would have given it, and he would have just given a yellow card, and then it would have still been 1-1, but it would have still been 11 versus 11. But no, because that's not true. Because the rule there is, as long as you attempt to play the ball, it's a yellow card. If you're last man, but you attempt to play the ball in the box, it's a penalty and yellow. But if it's last man and it's in the box and you don't attempt to play the ball, it's still penalty and red. Like, people don't understand that rule yet. Apparently, it's very important that you make a fair attempt.
What about the double penalty thing, though? Didn't they cut out the double penalty?
That's what I'm saying. People aren't understanding that rule. That only applies if you make a fair attempt to play the ball. If you're
So you're saying that he didn't make a fair attempt to play the ball?
No, I don't think so. Ball was gone.
Okay, so that's where we disagree. I mean, it is what it is.
Let us know in the comments, guys, what you think. Okay, let's get to this rotation because we talked about it already a little bit. Do you want to go over the lineup? Sure.
Let me quickly. I'll do Göztepe's lineup too.
Oh wait, and I have to for them as well.
So yeah, they start with Arda Özcimen, the 23-year-old Turk, in goal. They play with a 3-man back line, which is interesting, I suppose. They play with Koray Günter, a 30-year-old German Turk, who we've long been linked with, or we had long been linked with before he made the move to Göztepe from Italy, right?
Yeah.
Was it Parma or something? He played for one of those sort of...
Chievo Verona, I think.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Chievo. And then Heliton, 29-year-old Brazilian. Heliton. That's an interesting name. And then, of course, Malcolm Bokele Mputu, 25-year-old Cameroonian central defender. So those are their back three. Of course, their left wing back is Ismail Koybasha, a name many will recognize. 35 years old and still going. Opposite.
Ismail Koybasha. Fener Koybasha.
To be honest, he wasn't bad either. And then opposite him, this is interesting. They have a 37-year-old Danish Lasse Nielsen. I didn't realize he was 37. He did look like he was pretty old, but that's LeBron-ish. Okay, in the middle of their...
I think the person who runs the company is Danish, right? Isn't that the case? Like the person...
Oh yeah, that's right. That makes sense.
Remember the person who runs the company or something? What was it? I don't
remember that whole fight. Yeah, that was almost a blow. Yeah, I don't remember exactly what the deal was with that, but yeah, maybe that's his like cousin's nephew or something. Anyhow. Anthony Dennis is in the center of their midfield. 20-year-old Nigerian, playing next to Doğan Erdoğan around the Super League, after having been linked with us a long time ago.
Yeah, when he was back in Austria, I think.
Yeah, he's now 28 years old, and playing for Göztepe. Yep. Up ahead of them is David Tijanic, 27-year-old Slovenian. And up ahead of them, of all of them, I guess, they have two strikers. So they're playing an interesting, 3-man back line with two strikers, which, right, we experimented with that once. Was that Valérien who had, like, Gezal playing in the 10 role to sort of make that work? Anyway, so they have Juan, a 23-year-old Brazilian striker, playing next to, of course, Romulo Cruz, another 23-year-old Brazilian striker.
Cardoso, I think, right? Isn't it Cardoso?
It's listed as Cruz on FotMob, but
all right,
who knows?
And he scored the hat-trick, of course, and he impressed again. Yeah.
Yeah.
2.5 million. What a steal he's been.
Indeed. And then, of course, to us. And so this is where the conversation begins. So, of course, Ersin Destanoglu played in goal behind Talha, Sanuc, and Emirhan Topçu. On the left side, Arthur Masuaku. On the right side, Jonas Svensson, Alex Oxlade. Chamberlain is in the middle of our midfield next to Jedson Fernandes. Interestingly, João Mario was listed ahead of them with Rashica and Muçi on the wings.
Yeah.
On FotMob, although it looks like maybe officially we had Muçi in the middle with Rashica and João Mario on the wings. And of course, Rafa Silva up top.
No, I don't think
in that false 9 role.
I think Muçi was on the left for the most part.
I thought so, yeah. I mean, I think that's why FotMob had it listed like that.
And João Mario and Rafa Silva were doing the same thing they were doing against Galatasaray, right? Like just alternating up top. And just, so much, fluid movement there. What did you think of Emirhan's performance, Sinan?
Boy, I don't know. Now that you mention it, once the game had equalized and there was just all this chaos and like crazy referee decisions, and we were all in the group chat typing away feverishly. I don't even know that I necessarily paid very careful attention, especially to that extent, where I'm looking at the defenders' individual performances. We did let up 2 goals rather easily late in the game, and I'm curious to hear your analysis.
Yeah, that's the mental collapse, right? Like after the penalty.
Yeah, that was the one I was suggesting. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But that's late in the match. It's understandable. 10-11. You concede late. You concede a 2-1 late. Yeah,
and then we pushed forward, try to equalize.
I thought Emirhan had some mistakes in him. Even before that, there was a moment where I think Hon came on or something, and he was a real handful for them. And Emirhan just made a really bad error with trying to head the ball away, but it was like a short header, and the guy picked it up, and I don't know. Emirhan wasn't the usual stabilizing factor at the back, I feel. I thought Oxlade-Chamberlain, when we had our good 30 minutes or good first half even, I thought he was playing a great game. And then in the second half, there was a certain moment where Emirhan and him had like a little scruffle. Because Ox wasn't running a lot, I think, or something, or wasn't pressing or actively or something like that. It's a game with 2 faces, I feel like, man. Because like the first half, even after the red card, I still thought we were playing decently. I mean, we still almost got a penalty. We probably should have. Let us know in the comments, by the way, guys, what you think, if it was a penalty or not. And then the second half... It's too bad
it's a game we get such bad stats from. These cup games, we don't get any of the advanced stuff.
Yeah.
I'd like to see them, because it's true. So, and this is sort of what I was alluding to, is that when we went down a man, I thought, oh man, here we go again. Insofar as, we've shown that mental fragility so many times in the past. But where I wouldn't disagree with you is that I think for a little while, it seemed like there was some fortitude there. We weren't going to capitulate. We might still be able to get this result somehow. But, it all came sort of undone. I questioned some of the subs. Can we go through those? What subs were made?
So Mustafa Hekimolo came on for...
Yeah, Amir Hadzimetovic and Mustafa Hekimolo.
Yeah, those were
subs.
Bad subs. I mean, Mustafa...
Both bad subs.
To Mustafa's credit, I think he was okay, actually. But Amir came on. I thought he was terrible. He
immediately came out, and I've been... apt to like look for positives in his performances previously. This one, he came in and gave the ball away and kind of created a chance for our opponents that I think may have even ultimately led to their goal, to their second.
Yeah, and not just that, I felt like in the second half, as when Ox came off, I felt like our midfield suddenly ceased to exist. So like for some reason, you would expect Amir to actually bring in some solidity in midfield and some I don't know, but like I despite the fact I saw some comments and I didn't really notice it too much myself, but I saw some comments in the group chat as well at the time that like Ox wasn't really running or something. And I still felt like once Ox came off and Amir came on, I feel like we completely lost that midfield. Also, I'm still not sure. Did he take João Mario off for Gabriel Paulista after the red card?
Yeah, I didn't like that decision either.
Me neither. That was a didn't like that one either.
Yeah, I felt like each sub kind of contributed negatively in a weird way.
And there's a few times now that I feel like he's yoinked João Mario early.
He's always the first guy off, it seems.
Not always, but it's a couple of times now, and it always feels like it has an unbalancing effect on the team. Like, I feel like he's a very important player, and taking him off, I would have. I mean, granted, I just said that taking off Ox for Amir had a very unbalancing effect as well, but I would have expected Ox to be taken off or something. And you know what? I've been critical of Salih in the past, but like at this point, I think you put Salih in over Amir at least. But there's a couple of things really.
It's tough. That's a tough thing. I guess it's hard. I mean, again, I really wish that sort of Elan situation was panning out better.
Now he's injured.
Yeah, I know, and now he's injured.
No. I mean...
I was saying this in my report card, Con. I don't know if you'll agree with me on this, but I gave the board a bit of a negative report card this month because, and I said this, their transfer window was sort of inadequate, right? And like, as much as Kenny and Elan are great signings as far as like prospects, like long-term things, right? It's safe to say that the Amir move did not solve the problem in the center of our midfield, right? Yeah. And he wasn't just replacing Al-Musrati, but also Cher in a sort of funny way, right? If you view Elan as purely a prospect. So, there are still some holes in this squad.
Glass half full though, Sinan. At least I think now Ole gets to see Amir and knows now.
Yeah, he knows definitively. Yeah,
now he knows. That's not happening. In the summer he can go, and it's not like let's see for 6 months how Amir does, and we can always take action in January. Playing the devil's advocate, glass half full type of situation, I think it's good because for me, there's a couple of players now that have really shown that it's time to move on. Tayyip Talha is one of them. I think we need to close that chapter. That's over. He's not coming back from that ACL injury. He's never going to be the same again. He's still young. He's 24, I think, or maybe he just turned 25, but it's time to cut him loose. Thank you, Samet Aybaba, by the way, for extending his contract to 2027, so it's going to be very easy to unload him. Cough, cough. But yeah, so I think Tayyip Talha is one of the players that you have to cut loose in January. Obviously, Amir is one. Ox, the usual suspects. We already know the other people who are gonna need to...
You mean July, I suppose, right?
Yeah, sorry, did I say January? Yeah, I meant July.
Yeah.
So in the summer,
I just because you could have meant we should have gotten rid of.
So in the summer, there's a bunch of people that are obviously gonna have to be moved on. A couple of players that are starting right now, and for example, Masuaku is someone I think has been playing well, but I do think it's time for him as well. I think it's time.
His contract's ending, right?
His contract's ending. I think it's time for new blood. Bring in a young player. Do some decent scouting. Hopefully, they already have some candidates lined up, and that they don't have Benfica swoop in at the last minute this time.
But I will say this, and I'll back my criticism in that. Like, I think the board could have done better. Bring in prospects, absolutely, but then even just one move as far as find someone who's like a utility guy who can provide some measure of depth, right? Because that problem persists, and again it rears its ugly head when you look at the situation that Ole is facing here, where you need a central midfielder to come in, right? Elan is injured, so you can't sort of and again, right, as you say, this cup game is hugely important, so maybe you really wouldn't want to rely on a prospect in theory anyway, right? So we don't really have a central midfielder now that we can really say, here, put him in, he's going to sort of provide some stability in the midfield. In fact, it's quite the opposite. And I would argue that Salih wouldn't really have been probably a better option, right? Especially if you look at his performance.
Well, then Amir, I don't know, man. I think At least,
I mean, all I'm saying is they're both right. Like
well,
it's a rock and a hard place at best.
But I mean, to be honest, I think I think it's a. I know we offloaded some central players in January, but still, I mean, I do think we have a decent enough amount of options. I don't think that's something where money should have gone in January, other than with Elan, a player for the future. And I think that's just, that's part of the whole new philosophy that we hopefully are gonna sustain to an extent. I think you're going to focus mainly on bringing in younger players. And the problem with guys like Elan and with guys like Kenny is, this is their first step into Europe. It's tough to get accustomed to, get used to. You have to keep in mind, these kids, both of them, probably never saw snow in their lives before. You know what I mean? Like, other than on television. And like the first days they come to Istanbul, it's like 30 centimeters snow and stuff like that. Like, it's cold as hell. I think giving both of these kids like 6+ months, maybe even longer, to get used to things. I don't want to blame the board here. I don't think the board is at fault. I also heard some scattered Yönetim istifa chants during this game. And
I'm not going that far.
Yeah, that was just like, what are these people smoking? Like, are you trying?
I wouldn't go that far. But
Yeah.
I still think that, especially in light of these guys being prospects who you'd say, let's give them 6 months or whatever. I'm not even suggesting that. You've got to be making moves like that for sure. But we were a club that already had holes and that we needed to plug. And we created new ones by getting rid of like Masuaku, for example, right? So like, I don't know that just getting those 2 prospects was sufficient. And I think when you look at, yesterday as a perfect example, clearly they weren't. Clearly
but
there's a need for more depth on this squad,
But in
and
January,
we were lacking it.
making impact transfers is always trickier.
No, but like we
in the
said, Khan,
summer.
like we said last week, man, Taifur Bingo could have come, right? And then we already had
Yes.
some measure of depth at the 2 positions,
Yeah.
right? And frankly, he could have played in the center of the midfield, and I might prefer him over both of our other options at this point.
I saw a quote on last week maybe from Taifur that he's been in contact with Ole and he's been talking to Ole, but like, knowing what we know from Taifur, from previous coaching staff, I don't think he's gonna play much under Ole. I'll just put it that way. Because if the similar things that we're saying about Sali, reasons he doesn't play much under anyone except Serdar Topraktepe, because Serdar Topraktepe just reacts to the crowd and what social media and does what the board told him to do. And social media said, why is Sali not playing? So when Serdar Topraktepe took over, suddenly Sali was playing. But there's a reason why Sali doesn't play under Joe. There's a reason why he's barely playing now. There's reasons for that, guys. I've said it multiple times. And I think Taifur Bingo will be faced with much of the same if what we've heard about him is true. So, but yeah, I mean, there's those types of things. But that's also, I think, why they brought Amir back, right? Like, short-term fix. Don't have to spend money right now. So I think that's kind of what they did with Amir. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think if that was their strategy, I would have brought Taifur back too, right?
Yeah.
Because they created more holes than they plugged at the end. And especially when you consider that, a couple of those plugs were long-term prospects that you really don't know how they're going to settle in immediately, right? So you probably want, like, the problem with our wing is, like, maybe this is a good segue to get back into our sort of math analysis, but the problem with our wing is existential at this point. Like, Rashica
he was
is
terrible again. He was so bad again. And I don't understand why Kenny doesn't come on. I don't understand that.
I know.
Like, why is Kenny not coming on? Like, every time we've seen Kenny, has he been super impressive? No. He hasn't been, like,
But he's shown more in those flashes, right? Than Rashica has shown in like 90-minute stretches.
And he's created chances as well. Like, every time he comes on, he does something positive. Whether it looks amazing or not, he's still creating chances. Every time he comes on, he has created some good chances, I think. It almost feels like Ante Rebic, remember? Like every time he came on, he did something.
And you're kind of wondering, where is this guy exactly?
So I don't know. Yeah, like yesterday, I thought Rashica was just so bad again. Even defensively, like you think like, okay, he's leaving him on because Rashica is a hard worker and defends a lot. But how many times did this Ismail Koybashi come over that left wing and like nobody stopped him?
Like he owned him.
Yeah, so where was Rashica there? Like a 35, 36-year-old Ismail Koybashi was giving an autobahn in front of him.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it was really puzzling to me. But yeah, that's
and like what's crazy is that like Svensson actually I thought had a fairly decent match, and that's you know, despite being essentially put at a constant disadvantage by Rashica, not somehow recognizing that he could place himself positionally between Ismail Koybashi and the defense to maybe like get the ball and start a counterattack or just do something, man. Like the extent to which he tries to compensate for being in the wrong place all the time and having terrible end product with just like running hard and trying hard and like, you know, that's a great quality, but like it's not enough on its own. God, it's getting so hard to watch, man. Like,
yeah.
Every time he gets the ball, you know he's gonna lose it. You know, like it's like even the sort of like quote unquote good crosses like never find anyone because you almost feel like the players aren't even making the runs they need to because they're kind of expecting a cross that's gonna be like you have to play for chaos rather than.
And there were some moments yesterday where he gets the ball and it's like he's waiting too long, he's too undecisive, he makes the wrong decisions, he waits too long to give the pass. There were so many moments with Rashica yesterday as well where you're like, you know, and in the past, I think Catalyst praised him for having good passes and key passes and blah, and blah, and blah. But then yesterday, there were like moments where you're like, is this Rashica or is this Jetson? You know, the stuff that they always blame Jetson for, like, oh, he waits too long to give the pass, his passes aren't great, blah, blah, blah, blah. Like, I see the same thing with Rashica. Yesterday, especially, it's never been that glaring, I feel. Like, I think his passing game is generally good. That's one of the better parts of his game, I would say. But like yesterday, it was bad. It was really bad, and Rashica just had an off day. Despite the fact that the team, I thought Muçi was good, Rafa was good, João Mario was good,
great.
Ox was good. Like, and when I'm talking about that good first half, right? The first 30 minutes, and then maybe the remainder. I thought Jetson was good. You know, but there's a couple of guys had a stinker regardless. Like, even if this would have ended up being like a 3-0 win, Rashica didn't have a great game. Obviously, right? And then, I think Emirhan didn't have a great game. Ersin was bad. Ersin was really bad. And, you know, I mean, at some point, the fans were booing him again, and I don't condone that. That's part of why he is where he is right now, I think, because fans just, I mean, treated him with so little love and respect, and I don't understand that. But at this point, and it's been clear for a while, but Ersin is also one of those people like Amir, like Tayyip, where you're like, okay, this summer he needs to go. And for Ersin, it's for his own career, I think, for his own good, because he's never going to get anywhere if he stays at Beşiktaş. He needs to move away from the club. It's, you know, and this is a comment that I want to get into in a second, because one of the first other than all the highs and stuff, one of the first real comment was from Khan 2.0, and he said, "This club is just like my ex. We have a toxic relationship, ups and downs all the time." And I think that's true for some of the players as well, like Ersin. I think he is in a toxic relationship with the fans, and he has been for a long time, and he needs to get away. And then you've got guys like Tayyip and like Amir, who's like, okay, guys, sorry, you had big injuries. You've come back and you just haven't. I mean, Amir, even before the big injury, I thought he was like on the edge. Okay, back then I thought if he was Turkish, he would be a great squad player. But now I'm like, even if he was Turkish, I wouldn't keep him. You know? Unless he was like on a really low wage or something, perhaps. But like, no, in fact, even if he was Turkish, I don't think he's good enough for Beşiktaş. And I think before his injury...
it's not like he's like a prospect, right?
No, but before his injury, he was definitely a good rotation option. But the problem was he just took up a foreign spot. And Tayyip, before his injury, I really liked Tayyip. I thought Tayyip pre-injury was better than Emirhan now. But Tayyip post-injury is just not good enough, and it's time for him to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
And for them, the relationship with the fans or with the club isn't toxic. But Ersin really needs to move away because he's been in a toxic relationship with the fans for years, and it staggered his growth as a player. And I think he kind of missed his window, unfortunately. And that's not just his fault; it's also the club's fault because we've blocked his move more than once because we didn't want to have to look for a second goalkeeper, which I think is ridiculous.
It's interesting too because I didn't even because I think I'd sort of checked out for that first goal. I was still like raging. I was watching with my daughter. And I was explaining to her like the rules about like fouls, and because she was like, How is he off? Is that a penalty? So I was sort of like caught up in the moment, so I didn't really notice the goal so much. Like, or even like I thought it was a penalty, and so I was expecting it, and then it was a free kick, and like everything. I thought it was an indirect free kick because of how they set up the line. To be honest, like I didn't really the wall rather, and so there was just a lot of weird stuff going on at that moment. And then they scored, and it was like, what the heck? I was already furious, but beyond so removing that goal, which perhaps was on Ersin. I remember seeing, I think it was like Mary in the group chat, like talking trash about Ersin and thinking like, I don't even think he did anything wrong, man.
That was 100% on Ersin, man.
Fair enough.
You have to watch it back.
But like beyond that, like removing that goal, right? Like the other goals weren't, right?
I mean, the third goal definitely he didn't look good, and the fourth goal.
But he got dinked, right? He got dinked on it.
Yeah,
as I recall, but it was a one-on-one, right? You're not going to put that on a keeper too harshly, like. I don't know. Anyway, point being is like I don't like. I think it's to the point now where people.
Like
I'd have to see it again. By then I was like, fuck this.
And I think
I didn't even watch that replay.
If we don't concede that 1-1 straight away after the red, like it's also a completely different game. Like the fact that you concede the red card and the goal in the same play, essentially, that is like really, really bad. Like if they, because now we were in a different
they
position.
Didn't score.
You also you need to take in mind it changes the game dynamic completely. Because if they don't score, it's still 1-0, and yes, you're 10 against 11, but you can sit back a little bit, absorb pressure, and then you can use your players like Rafa. You know, the quickness of Rafa, the quickness of Muçi, and the good passing from Ox and all that kind of stuff. You can still use that and try and exploit them on the counter because they'll have to come and take risks. But because of the 1-1, you can't just go full tortoise mode. You know, you still have to try and play and find a goal, not just on counters.
I mean, if I'm
different.
honest though, like I think. In part, I liked how we responded initially to going down a man and to being equalized on. And I don't know that we would have replied as well as we did if we had, not given away the goal. Like I like that we didn't, try to like crap this one out and like waste time. And like I in a way, it's that tendency where we usually kind of get bitten. So I thought that was
Yeah, obviously you don't want to completely sit back and park the bus, right? Because then if you're gonna park the bus for 60 minutes, then you're just inviting so much pressure that it's inevitably going to blow up in your face, right? But
and to be honest, I even still like I was giving in my mind anyway, Ole credit for not having us sit back because I feel like if even at 1-1, right, you could be like, let's shithouse this 1-1 result and like hope to knock them on the counter at some point when they forget, when we tire them out.
Or worst case scenario, beat them on the penalties or something, right? But for the longest time, it did look like we were gonna probably, hold out. I think if they don't get a penalty, we don't concede.
Yeah. And that's despite not sitting back, right? Like we created chances, like the penalty we earned.
We had a few
and we
moments
looked
in the second
solid.
half. There was a really bad shot from Rashica and stuff like that. But there were some moments for sure. And even at 1-3, we created like 3 really good chances, right? Like Rafa missed an incredible sitter. And then there were a couple of, I think there was like a really
God, I
good
forgot
block,
about that.
a block shot from Simi and stuff like that. So like, if we don't concede
Yeah.
the
I mean,
penalty,
I don't like how we capitulate there, in the end, but
yeah,
I
but
mean,
that penalty is just a really stupid penalty to concede. But I can't even be angry at Masuaku. I don't even think it's like, I don't know. It's just unlucky. It felt like unlucky. But Sian, do you want to talk more about the match, or shall we start with some comments, because there's quite a
yeah, I was
amount.
going to suggest we get into the comments.
So let's start with Mario's then, if you want the.
God, I forgot their second goal was a penalty.
Yeah.
that's how phased out of that match I was.
That's my point. Like, it was like, what was it, like the 77th minute or something like that? Like, we were seeing, the full time. We were getting close to full time already, right? Like.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's start with Mario's comment here. With not for nothing, that referee was sketchy as hell.
Yeah, well, and then, technically he says it all went to crap 30 minutes in, which is sort of underlining what we've all sort of been saying all episode. But yeah, then he says, not for nothing, that ref was sketchy as hell.
Yeah.
Indeed. Yeah. I don't really know what to say beyond that.
I kind of felt like it at the time, because I feel like, oh wow, he was super eager to give that red card, and then I also felt like he was super eager to give the penalty. But then looking back, it's like, I mean, penalty. It looks like I think it was a handball, so you can't really say anything, right? And then the red card. Granted,
is it true? So I didn't see this. Is it true that Fener did not get called for a handball on the same thing, like was last week or something? People were kind of talking about hypocrisy.
I think that was about the Fenerbahce Galatasaray game the other day, actually. But there was like a handball situation there, but it came off of his foot. So.
Is that so? That doesn't apply here. That rule.
No, it didn't come off his body. Yeah. But
didn't it come off someone's head?
Yeah, but the Göztepe player, I think.
Oh.
Didn't
it deflect? I thought it did a deflection and then hit the hand off of.
I don't remember.
Whatever.
I don't think so.
I don't really
remember
know.
It was a penalty 2 seconds ago.
I do. I mean, now I remember obviously the play and the call, but yeah. I honestly though, I was like, I don't know. Like I said, there was a part of me that this entire match I was like, oh god, not again, not this shit again.
Payback by the MHK, says Merter. By the way, did you see?
Murder.
Yeah, did you see the fines Beşiktaş got? Did you see those?
I saw it was like 4.5 million lira.
Yeah, Beşiktaş got a total of 4.5 million lira. And now, please, people in the comments, correct me if I'm wrong, because I could be completely off here. But I'm pretty sure, and I could be wrong, but I think Trabzonspor last season got 2.7 million lira fine for the brawl for all against Fenerbahce. I think they got fined 2.7 million lira for that. So we got fined almost double. Wait, not almost double. We got fined double. No, wait. Yeah, well, almost double. Let's call it almost double. We got fined almost double as much for what the comments on the federation and all that kind of stuff, and on the referee and blah blah blah blah blah. So Beşiktaş gets fined more than Trabzonspor did last season, after what I think was one of the biggest scandals in Turkish football in like the last 5 years at least. Actually, you know what? That's not true, because you had
one's like, I'm gonna get water.
You had the Ankara Gücü president punching a referee. I think the Ankara Gücü president punching a referee and the thing that happened in Trabzon last season, like they're vying for first spot, right? But I think the thing what happened in Trabzon last season was still worse, because it involved a lot of players and it endangered a lot of players, because fans stormed the pitch. What if one of them like has a knife and stabs a player or something like that? Like, that was worse in my opinion. But just to give that, put that into perspective, they got fined almost half what Beşiktaş just got fined. So when Murder Mert there says revenge by the MHK, yeah, maybe, you know, like all the stuff Beşiktaş have been saying about referees and stuff like that, and the pressure we've been putting on referees to you know, for the foreign referee, for the derby and all that kind of stuff. Like maybe this is a little bit of okay, we see you, Beşiktaş, and here's your answer.
Which is crazy because, like, relatively speaking, we've done so much less of that than our rivals of late. So
of course, but the problem with Beşiktaş always is that we have
the smallest lobby.
We're the punching bag for these people, and there's no repercussions to it. You can't do this kind of stuff to Fenerbahçe and Galatasaray because there's way too much power behind that, and they're in their pockets anyway. But with Beşiktaş, Beşiktaş don't have enough political weight,
leverage.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, I'm not even advocate, but like a lot of Beşiktaş fans are like angry about that. I think that those people have it wrong. I think we should be angry about the fact that it's needed in the first place. I don't think that should. You know, that should not be a thing. It shouldn't be a thing. It should be a level playing field.
I mean, it's just sort of a sort of almost legalized form of corruption, ultimately, right?
Oh,
like
100%, 100%. And you know, that's what people are always saying. When Fikret Orman or Ahmet Nurçebi or whoever was the president, wasn't complaining enough in the media. They're always saying, "Oh, we need a president that speaks out and complains more." And now, like, those same people are saying, "Oh, well, why is he talking?
You need to shut up.
Why is he talking again? Because it doesn't matter anyway." And you know that, like unless like Rami Koç becomes the president of the club and he has some significant power in the country, like unless he would become the president of the club, maybe people would listen to him because, you know, he's a coach, but like he's also 93 years old or something like that, you know what I mean? But like it's just in Turkey, it's there is no level playing field, and this is just yet another example of that. The fact that Beşiktaş can be taken out back in an alleyway and beaten up and nothing comes of it. I mean, to be fair, I mean, I don't really think this was a referee screw job, but I do think that if this was Galatasaray, I think this game gets officiated differently. I'll put it that way.
Yeah. And so back to the comments, though,
just
Mario.
A second, though, I do want to point out, I do think this is in part the magic of the cup, and of course for us it's terrible that we go out. But I think it's also amazing for a club like Göztepe that they get a historic win like this away at Beşiktaş. That's fantastic for them. That's a fantastic memory for their fans. And now hopefully they can do it again against Trabzon, go to the final, and then beat whoever is in the final. That would be a fantastic fairy tale story for a club like that. And that is something, you know, the cup,
that would be great.
The magic of the cup, something that I feel like the Turkish Cup has lacked or is lacking. That is definitely something that, you know, in Belgium you have these fairy tale stories relatively frequently. You know, with clubs like KV Mechelen and all that winning the Belgian Cup, and Ghent, who've only been Belgian champions once. So like it's a big deal for those types of clubs. And you know, for a club like Göztepe to be able I think if you play this match 10 times, Beşiktaş probably wins it 7 out of 10 times or something. The way this match played out, like it was a very.
I mean, that red card is
exactly.
As you said, it's
exactly. So because of it being a 1-game elimination style match, and because of like on the day, like it was gonna take something like that for them to beat us because we were playing really well, and it really needed something like that, like a fluky red card. And again, I think this was a fluky red card. I don't think the red card for Galatasaray on the weekend was a fluky red card, because that one was a direct result of our tactical approach to the match. And how we exploited their weaknesses, and we had already exploited their weaknesses repeatedly at that point, including during the goal.
And real quick, I want to mention Murder Mert said the Frankowski red was apparently a last man red, not for the kick. Murder Mert, I think you may be confused. It was his second yellow, right?
No, it was a direct red card.
Oh, and then he got. That's right. It wasn't. That's right. It should have been a second yellow, but it was a direct red. Right. Going back to I don't want to skip anyone though. Mario, it's probably well timed. It's getting to the point where we are turning into conspiracy theorists. Haha, the world is a good thing.
Yeah.
And then Murder Matt says, "I got my tin hat decades ago." And so then here we go into the match stuff. Khan 2.0. Good to see you again, sir. Says, no, Ersin is not capable of doing anything on purpose. I think Ersin's game IQ is below Beşiktaş's standards. You have anything to say about that? Mario says Ersin shouldn't have played this match. Granted, a lot of things shouldn't have happened in this match. What a bullshit match.
Yeah.
Any comments on Ersin? Final comments, Khan?
I think
is his game IQ below our standards?
I mean, if you look how he handles set pieces, if you remember against Galatasaray in the first match that we lost, he was in goal, and he was fucking around with his wall there when Sarah takes the free kick. He was still fucking around with the wall, and yeah, it was a relatively quick free kick, but
yeah, I had that on the ref more than on Ersin.
Yeah,
I think, at the time.
But that's also on Ersin. Because
too long.
I watched it back, and it's not like he took it like 3 seconds after the ref walked away or anything like that. Like, and I believe the rules is like there isn't a specific amount of seconds, but like, you know, like you don't get 30 seconds or 20 seconds to set up your wall. That is not a rule or anything. So Ersin there fucked up too. And he's done it in the past on free kicks as well. He doesn't learn. But like I said, you know, it's difficult for him to learn when he rarely plays. So he needs to go away. He needs to go to a club where he's the first choice, and then he can perhaps start developing again. I was gonna say continue to develop, but he hasn't been developing for like 4 years or like 3 years. So he needs to.
And to be fair, he hasn't been playing either.
Yeah, exactly.
My only rebuttal to Khan 2.0 as far as his game IQ is, I mean, it was high enough for us to win a championship with him in goal for an entire season.
Yeah, but I don't think we
know...
won the championship because of Ersin, right?
We didn't lose it because of him either, right? And if his game IQ was so low,
it wasn't like with Tolga. With Tolga, I feel like we won the championship in spite of him. Ersin,
and we lost multiple cups because of him.
Ersin wasn't a situation with Ersin where we won the championship in spite of him. It was more of a situation of we won the championship with him, but it's not like he had an amazing season or anything like that, right?
No, but I just my rebuttal is just that his IQ isn't low enough that got in the way of that. So it you know, maybe it shouldn't in and of itself mean he's not of our level.
I think
on that.
I think it's clear that he's not Beşiktaş level at this point. That's very clear.
Certainly, yeah. I mean, and I think in large part that has to do with the sort of lack of development, the lack of playing time, right? The lack of sort of anything sustained since that season. Because I do feel like, you know, I was pretty high on him.
I mean, he wasn't good in the 21-22 season, Sinan. He wasn't good.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. He didn't cover himself in glory by any stretch.
And Mert came, but got injured straight away.
Yeah.
So it's not.
I mean, Mert looked terrible, right? Initially, he looked like, okay, we don't really need him to be anything.
But my point is, it's not like Mert came and took his spot, right? And like he still had like a full season. He still had a full season.
No, and if you recall, it was that Valérien Ismail season where like we would give our opponents like half a chance per game, and he would let it in somehow. Remember, on just crazy shots.
And it wasn't until
you're right.
Şenol Güneş came back that Mert started becoming the first goalkeeper, right? So, Ersin, it's not like he hasn't had the time to prove himself and to develop, but he should have left. He should have left. The summer after Şenol came back, he should have left then because he lost the spot to Mert. He shouldn't have stayed. He should have insisted on leaving.
I mean, or someone at the club should have insisted, you know, either go out on loan so that you can develop or get the hell out of here so you can do right by yourself and earn us some money. Because he did still have that rep as a championship winning goalkeeper, right? And I think that's tarnished.
Rumored interest from clubs like Ajax and stuff, so...
Yeah. Anyway, Murder Mert. Apparently, the VAR ref has a history of bad calls at VAR in Turkey. The weird thing about some of the earlier calls was I don't even feel like they went to VAR very seriously.
It
wasn't until later in the match.
I don't know who it was exactly, but the VAR ref was a Dutch referee. So I don't know.
Oh, is that right?
So I don't know how many matches he has had as a VAR ref in Turkey. So something similar was said about the VAR ref between Galatasaray and Fenerbahce the other day, and that was also a foreign referee. So like people say a lot of stuff online, they talk a lot of shit, they talk out of their asses. So I need to see what I would need to see what matches that VAR referee was at then, because I don't just believe that kind of stuff. People shout all kinds of shit. They talk so much crap. They just make stuff up on the spot. So I don't know.
Especially like given the climate these days with social media, there's just a lot of bullshit out there.
You know, people can just shout whatever they want. Like 90% of it doesn't get fact checked anyway. So it's easy to just.
And in this day and age where everyone wants to prop themselves up as some sort of an expert with like, you know, insight that other people don't have access to or whatever, right? Like people are very quick to like take even the slightest sliver of a rumor they hear and like, my sources tell me that. Yeah, sure. Anyway, Shmari says, sticking to my guns. Well, you called the ref, what was it, sleazy or cheesy or I forgot what it was. So you're on my et tu, Mario. Anyway. He says, granted a lot of things. No, that went backwards. Murder Mert said that's 100% a red card. The Frankowski red was, we did that already. Ref Khan 2.0 says the ref automatically assumed that the ball was in control of Juan, yet it was not clear. See, there we go, Khan 2.0. At least I got one Khan on my side. Then Mario says, absolutely a penalty. I think now we're talking about the Jetson one.
Yeah.
Murder Mert says he has to play everyone to see who to keep. No doubt about that, Murder Mert. I would say maybe throw Typhoon into the mix too, or even I don't know. Do we have anyone else? I mean, Demir Ege Tiknaz, I suppose we're trying to get that money, so we couldn't have brought him back. But I mean, we need to plug some of these holes, man. Like we don't only lack depth, but we even lack starters when it comes to some positions.
Yeah. Today I read a quote from Firat Günayer, the supposed mouthpiece of Adale, right? And he said that Beşiktaş are planning to make 4 to 5 transfers in the summer. I think we'll need a few more than that. I mean, 4 to 5 for the starting 11, that might be enough. But then you still need to do like squad depth moves. So I think we'll need at least like 10 transfers, at least.
Right?
I mean,
sure. Yeah. I mean, and I'd love to see they bring that same energy that they brought in this last window as far as getting rid of folks.
Sinan,
do it, yeah.
Sinan, let's do the thought exercise. Let's quickly, get this lineup up here. So like 4 to 5 transfers. Right. So look, Ersin, Mert can stay. Count. Mert can stay another year, right? We don't. I want.
Let's see. Hold on. Put an asterisk on that. Let's see what else we're covering.
Let's see. So Svensson, he stays. Then you have Felix and Gabriel Paulista. So Paulista, maybe you move him on. Talha needs to go. Emirhan's fine. So Felix and Emirhan, that's fine. Masuaku, you need to replace. Jetson stays. Chamberlain, something needs to happen there. So maybe Elan Ricardo.
So what is that? Transfer. 3. We have central. Left back.
So far, left
central
back.
Midfielder.
So far,
honestly, I have Masuaku in the same place as Ersin, as Mert. Although I guess the difference is that Mert is actually going to be on contract, right? And so if we have to re-sign Masuaku anyway, I think you'd replace him. Yeah. Why not? Yeah, okay. All right. I'm with you. So that's 2.
Muçi. Then Muçi. I mean, you need real.
Typically Muçi. Well, okay.
Muçi is
Muçi. Where are you on the loan, sell, keep? Sell, start. Where are you with Muçi?
I think you sell Muçi because you can still get really good money for Muçi now. I think if you keep him, you need to play him. If you keep him, you need to play him. He needs to be a starter. He could
be first off the bench, right?
Yeah, but then you're wasting him. Then you're wasting
Yeah.
10 million. He cannot be a rotation player. He needs to be a starter or he needs to be sold.
Yeah, Rafa Silva makes him.
He's too expensive to be a rotation player. And
Mm-hmm.
Rashica definitely replace.
Oh man.
And then João
That's
Mario
the
and
first one
Rafa,
on the
they
list.
can stay.
Keepers.
Right?
Yeah, so that's 4.
Yeah. So I mean, you can
4
say
starters.
You can say Jetson,
Starters. 4 starters. We
Yeah.
don't even talk about depth, which is like we're lacking in most of those positions.
Yeah, exactly. So that's 4. That's at least 4 starters. So if what Virat Gunay was saying was 4 to 5 starters, then I think that's 100% good. That's fine. If it's 4 to 5 players in general, then I think we're gonna have another fun season. And with fun, I mean not fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Indeed. But we have some scouts now.
Yeah.
We got a little team in place. Hopefully they'll get the job done. Assuming we don't freaking throw the baby out with the bathwater and start all over again, which would be incredibly crazy.
Yeah.
I mean the election and all that for anyone who's unaware. Anyway, back to the chat over here. We've got Cantu Pano.
yeah.
Yes, thanks a lot, Samet, for the genius move. That's re-signing Tayyip Talha.
Yeah.
I love how when he's not in our favor, we call him Tayyip Talha, and then when we're like, ooh, maybe he could be playing it right back, it's like Talha had a decent game. So there's something going on there with the naming mechanism.
Well, I think
anyway,
all the Beşiktaş fans that were swearing at Tayyip Talha yesterday on social media definitely added the Talha, I think, because otherwise they might be in trouble.
Exactly. Yeah, they don't need to go to jail for this. And then we get into some jokes. We just enjoy to ask anybody to resign. It's like a hobby. So we're talking about the istifa. Mario, I think I'll istifa just because. Why not? Murder Matt laughing. I have had enough with Rashitska. And he does the shit in Shitska. He was so much better on Galatasaray. Maybe
he wasn't.
They didn't.
He wasn't.
They didn't even. They
he
didn't.
Wasn't even that good there. I mean, if you remember, for those of you who've been watching this podcast for a long time, I said this when we signed him. I said he wasn't that good at Galatasaray to begin with. I always thought he was. I think I explained back then. He was an okay cog in a very well-oiled machine, and that made him look better than he was. But he's not a player that can carry you. I said it back then. I saw it at Galatasaray. That is not a carrying player. That is not a star player. That is, at best, a good rotation player. And Rashica, I'll say about him what I used to say about Amir. I think Rashica, if he was Turkish and he wouldn't be earning 2 million a year, if he was on like $1 million a year and he was Turkish, I would keep him until he retired. You know what I mean? Like, I think for that, he's a really good rotation player, but he is far from being good enough to be a starter, and he makes way too much money, and he takes up a foreigner spot.
Yeah. Yeah.
By the way, before we continue,
if Rashica was Turkish.
Mario has his charity run in 2 days, so if you haven't donated yet to the charity, Mario's running for tuition fees for children, underprivileged children in Turkey, and you can donate as little as 250 lira, which boils down to about $6 or €6. So for as little as €6, you can really help children in Turkey that attend the school where Mario teaches.
It didn't take my money, by the way. I gotta try again.
Oh, really?
It was giving me trouble.
Okay.
Yeah, I tried
maybe
I gave too big of a donation. I was trying to go. I was feeling very charitable that morning.
I just used my credit card. It worked fine.
Yeah, I tried that. Maybe I had used my debit, and I should try using just my credit card. Yeah, I'll figure it out.
I could only use my credit card, but yeah. Anyway, go and check
Maybe
that
that's
out.
what it is.
I will. In fact, I will go and put that link in the description of this podcast.
Nice. I was going to ask about that.
Because I didn't. It's in the last podcast, but it's not in this one. But I'll go and add it. But go and contribute to that. For one student's years long tuition is 10,500 lira, which is how much is that? That's like, I don't know, a couple of €100. So Just if you have $6 laying around and you feel charitable, guys, consider donating to Mario's charity event. It's on the 6th of April, so it's in 2 days. And in the description you can find the link to that charity for underprivileged children's tuition fees. So
speaking of Mario, he had like an inception. He had an inception moment, and we were talking about the Istifa thing, and he goes, "Mario netted it," and I think he's talking about João Mario, but it looks like he's asking where he is instead, which is fun.
Oh, and by the way,
where am I?
If you donate to this cause, I have given Mario a coupon code that will give you 6 months of free Black Eagle VIP membership on Patreon. So if you donate 250 or more, 250 liras or more, so $6, you essentially get on top of that, on top of the warm fuzzy feeling in your stomach for having done something good on the day, you will get also a 6-month free subscription on the Black Eagle VIP podcast and the Schwarting report and all that good stuff. So it's added to the description now, by the way, so you can find the link in there.
I'm trying to find. Yeah, in fact, so Murder Merit says that it'll flag an international purchase and send a verification, and that's what I expected. But instead, it was like, it couldn't be verified.
Oh, you know what?
Get that
verification. The thing here is we have an identity app that you need to use to confirm payments. So it's really neat, actually. Like if I do like a payment, like a credit card payment, I have to verify my identity with the EID. So that's maybe why it works for me and it's not working for you.
Yeah, I mean, I've had to do that previously where I'll get like a text from my bank and it's like, can you, but I didn't get anything. So I don't know. Hopefully it's not a bigger problem on my end or something. Anyway, don't be discouraged by that. You guys give it a shot. It sounds like everyone else has had success. So this might be a personal banking issue. Anyhow, Khan 2.0 says we have to stop treating players like they're playing for free or something. If he's good, go on. If not, get the hell out of here. Simple as that. I'm not sure who that was in regards to, but I generally agree.
Tayyip Talha, Ersin,
for sure.
There's a bunch of people.
A number of guys. Rashid said,
right?
Yeah, exactly.
A couple of people who merit that comment. I think
maybe us. Yeah. And the current TFF had told that they're going to stop fining chairman for speech.
Yeah.
Yet here we are.
Yeah.
Wasn't $2.5 million of it against Adali alone? It was. Yeah. Adali was the one who got the majority of the 4.5 sort of tacked on in his name for what he said. And I didn't even think he came out especially harsh or anything. And that was a little crazy. And then Murder Merit says, even when Demirudan was TFF Prez, we didn't get anything in our favor. Yeah, well, also Demirudan was not. I don't want to get sued.
Oh, well, yeah, I mean, when Demirudan
debatably, whether it was on our side or just there for himself.
He was doing his best to sabotage Beşiktaş, right? Like he had a...
Just like he did when he was our president, ironically.
Yeah, exactly.
For anyone who's unaware, he's responsible for like the bulk of our debt. And what's worse is he gave us a huge amount of debt at the front end, and so all of the interest that's been tacked on over the years is a product of that huge amount that he gave us.
Go check out our financial episode. We've got some videos with a financial expert who explains all that with
the indomitable.
Yeah.
Indubitable.
Exactly. Yeah.
The financier. Murder Merit did that already. Sebastian, the not sporting director. Good to see you, man. He goes, when Solskjaer will take when will Solskjaer take responsibility for a loss? Because I have a feeling he doesn't take responsibility after losses. Interesting. I can't. Is this Sebastian Heine? I think this might not be our old Sebastian. This is a new Sebastian. We have a
maybe.
new Sebastian.
Yeah, I think Sebastian Heine.
Because his is with an A.
No, I don't think that's true, Sebastian. Because like he never shies away from responsibility, and I feel like it's us.
That's what I'm saying.
The fans who have been saying, okay, it's not his fault. I think this is the first time where I've been actually critical of some choices made. But I think tactically, again, it was a sound plan. It just, the fluke red card changed the game. But like I said, like the decision to rotate the goalkeeper and the central defender end up haunting him. That was bad. But the performance tactically was good. That wasn't the issue. He prepared the team well enough. And Solskjaer always takes responsibility after defeats. I think that's I don't really see why you're saying that.
I was gonna say I have to plead the fifth because I in 100% honesty, I've been so lazy about doing that follow up and like listening to his press conferences it's been a minute for me. So
he's always,
like his first 10 were solid. So I was like, all right, he's good.
No, his press conferences are exactly, he has the right analysis. He explains really well why things go certain ways. He takes responsibility. This is not Mourinho, who is creating controversies to deflect. That's not what Solskjaer does.
The nose picker.
Yeah.
That guy.
Yeah.
Con 2.0, 4 or 5, make it 20. Indeed. And then he gets Con 2.0 said, with Sinan's pronunciation, it sounds like murder, Mert. That's exactly what I'm saying. We used to say Merter, we were trying to figure out if there was a nickname involved. But when I found out he was from Long Island, that was when I started calling him. That's when I started calling him Murder Mert, because I think the first time I said it, I said that he must have been called that in school.
Oh, definitely.
Murder Mert.
Definitely.
But it's a Moida Mert over here from Long Island. But yeah, no, it's a sort of inside joke. Most of the weird stuff we say on here are inside jokes. We've got enough of those in circulation these days.
Definitely.
But yeah, that brings us to the end of our chat, it seems. Unless people want to ring in real quick. I mean, this was sort of an uneventful match, to be fair. It's hard to be too up or down, I would say, because like we've, I think, highlighted very effectively. We came out so well.
See, now,
right? We looked so good early.
Part of me is relieved that we don't have to play a semifinal now. We don't have to play a potential final. Because, of course, I want to win silverware. I want us to win silverware. I would have wanted us to win the cup. But another part of me is like, I just want to be done with this season. I want to move forward, and having yet another game where you're suspensefully living towards. I could do without. I'm actually fine with the next 2.5 months of just kind of chilling, not being too upset about results.
Stressed.
I mean, as long as we qualify for Europe, I'll be fine. I don't really care whether it's in third or in fourth place, quite frankly. I have to be honest, this match, I watched it yesterday. I was upset during the game. As soon as the match was over and I turned it off, I forgot about it. Like, it wasn't on my mind anymore. I was doing other stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's sometimes I feel like that's not a bad thing,
It is what it is. And especially, look, man, this is one of those games. It's kind of a litmus test of where you are individually. I was going to say, as a person, but no. I mean, when it comes to Beşiktaş, because it's like, if you want to be negative about this, you could cook up some talking points,
Yeah,
we could talk about his subs. We could talk about his subs.
Yeah. I mean, I think one of the things that Ole has acknowledged as well, he has acknowledged his own mistakes, and that's also why I don't agree with Sebastian what he's saying. But obviously we'll have to wait and see how it goes, because I do feel like while Ole has been saying the right things, and I think tactically he's preparing the team well for most games. I do see some stuff I would love to see differently. I think, I'd like to see more of Elan Ricardo. Obviously not possible right now, but I definitely would want to see more of Kenny Arroyo. And you know,
and more of João Mario, ironically, as insofar as like don't take him off.
Like there's some stuff like, you know, but at the end of the day, he needs to work within the confines of his squad. And unfortunately, his squad is extremely confined.
It's not a great squad.
You know, it's a limited squad. It's not very deep. He only has so many options. You know, with Felix out now, and with Gabriel Paulista being, you know, injury prone, it is understandable that you know, he's like, okay, he just played a really intensive game against Galatasaray. It's 4 days later. Maybe he can't handle it, man. Like, and you know, one of my criticisms is this is our only silverware, potential silverware remaining this season. He should be playing with the strongest 11, but I cannot really fault him that much for rotating Paulista out because of that.
And this is let me sort of underline everything, right? Any form of criticism that you've heard from us today, right? Like where I was saying, you know, I don't like that we're you know, folding even though we go a man down. Like we should show more mental fortitude. That's not on Ole, right? Like this is something that we've been carrying on for like four seasons at this point, and it's not going to be fixed immediately. Like it's not like he can just like wave his wand and like that's gone. So he's doing the best he can with the sort of circumstances that he's been provided with. The fact that we didn't actually kind of roll over and capitulate is probably credit to him. So I really like, and even my criticism of like the board, you know, they could have plugged more holes or brought back Typhoid or whatever. Like that doesn't mean I'm saying Istifa or like that, like that they've failed us, you know, because at the end of the day, they did do a pretty phenomenal job of discarding a lot of dudes, right? Like we talked, what was it, 17 guys we got rid of in the window?
That was the previous board, right? Sinan?
Yeah. Oh my God, I'm conflating boards. But yeah, you're right. True enough. But you know, nonetheless, it is hopefully, you know, that sort of ethos, because we've brought in a professional bunch of what is the not sporting director. So you'd think that ethos would be carried through to the next window, where we're gonna probably finish up the job of getting rid of, you know, we talked about the 4 or 5 starters. And there's a number of guys on the bench that can go to and be replaced by maybe younger, brighter.
Every coach makes mistakes or perceived mistakes, because it's easy after a game that goes like this to say, oh well, it's because of the decision of the rotation. If we end up winning this game 3-0, nobody's gonna say, oh, it's because of the rotation. It's because we put Ersin in goal and Tayyip at the back that we won this game 3-0. Right? Like
that was my point. Yeah.
Exactly. Like, I mean, obviously it had an unfortunate, very clear impact on the match. The rotation had a negative impact on the match. But even a bad rotation doesn't explain the sort of fluky, right, like the red card, right? Like well at the end of the day, and look, we've seen fantastic players get red cards, you know what I mean? Like we've seen Vida, you know, against Bayern München. But, like, the thing is, like, he doesn't have another option, right? Like, Gabriel Paulista played against Galatasaray full 90 minutes 4 days ago. He's only just come back from a 2.5-month injury. He is already injury prone to begin with. You know, there's some moments. And he probably got a bit of a knock on that nasty tackle. Was that? That's 2 games ago, yeah. Badish Alper Yilmaz? Oh, no. Was that 2 games ago? Yeah, I thought it was. He had a against Konya or against Konya. There was that. Against Konya there was that. But there was nasty one. Like there was even one here in this match when he came on, where one of the Göztepe players like gave him a nasty body check, and you saw him wincing afterwards. And I just looked at him and I thought to myself, this is a football player that really loves to play, but. Yeah, he doesn't. Shouldn't. I don't think this guy. I don't think this is somebody who plays a game without pain. I think after every match, he probably needs at least 2 days to recover. And the thing is with like young guys like Emirhan and you know those kids, they play a match. Everyone needs recovery time, but like you know most players they need like a day or something. But like older players, sometimes they need 2 to 3 days. And when you played a game 4 days ago, it is completely understandable. I mean, 2 to 3 days, maybe 4 or 5 days sometimes, right? Like if you picked up a knock or something.
For sure.
That is
especially
why
you're fresh off a pretty nasty injury that it took him months to recover
but that's
from.
why the rotation of Gabriel Paulista, while it ended up haunting us, it is 100% understandable and justifiable. But the rotation of Mert, in my opinion, is not. Although he did leave the national team during the international break with an injury.
Is that right? I didn't know.
And Mert is also 35, and that's the second international.
Oh, remember he had that.
Yeah, he had the shoulder injury or something, and then like this
shoulder thing, right?
The
last
second international break in a row where he gives forfeit for the national team, where he leaves the national team.
I was gonna conflate his shoulder injury with Ersin. Remember, Ersin had a sort of back injury at some point
in this game.
match.
He had a lower back.
But no, I mean, for sure. I actually sort of understood the rotation to an extent. Any player, we've seen so many players. I mean, think about like Necip, right? Who people are making S tier in all of their lists. Think about how many red cards that man's gotten in just the time we've been watching.
One of those things. Like Necip just came back from injury, but he wasn't available for this match. So
exactly.
He Bakhtiar
or Zainutinov wasn't injured.
Bakhtiar
or wasn't available.
Still like he has like Ole has no options at the back. The only other option he would have had here is like play an academy player, right? That's the only option he would have had, or play.
And Amir, there was one on the bench,
or play
which
Amir
is
at the back
maybe
or something. Yeah.
No, you don't need to fool around like that.
So, I mean,
or Onur Bulut. Yeah, do people want to see Onur Bulut play? Exactly, remember that happened for a moment.
Well, I mean, there's been criticism, and I think this is the first episode where I've at least given some real criticism on Ole, but I do want to be clear. Like the criticism I have, it's like it's short. It's minor. Because I still think, like I said, I think the game plan was perfect, and it was a fluke red card. It was unlucky, and that happens in football, man. And that's what I said. Like that's the magic of the cup, right? That's a team like Göztepe on the night. Things went their way because they were being destroyed. And then a red card changes it completely in their favor, and that's the beauty of the cup. Unfortunately for us, we're on the receiving end of it, and but it is what
real
it is.
Real quick, Khan 2.0, and Khan 2.0 says, by the way, we saw to basically back up what we're kind of walking back our criticism because it really was fairly minor, and it's so easy for people to blow that stuff up and be like, oh, you guys were so critical of Ole that one time. It's like, okay, look. It is what it is, but and so Khan 2.0 on Murder Mert, get it. Khan says, by the way, we saw that Ole solved possession game problems with those shit squads in the first 30 minutes and the gala match. So it is promising to see that, which we basically already agreed with. And Murder Mert says, Ole is a gem. We need to stand by him until he deserves dissension from us. He needs to be given the puzzle pieces he needs. Then it's on him to pass or fail. Exactly. And that's exactly, I think, a good point to close on. Except for one, actually. This is perhaps the best conclusory thing. Khan, are you now rooting for Göztepe to win the cup? I feel like you are.
Yeah, I'd much rather see them or Trabzonspor win it than the other two. I mean, than Galatasaray, right?
Who's the fourth team in the rotation?
Konya,
by the way?
But
Konya.
I'm not a big fan. Not a big Konya fan.
I want to see Göztepe win it.
Yeah, Göztepe would be great. I mean, it would mean the most to them, right? Like for them, it would be.
It's a great city. Today I don't know if this was just some news outlet or whatever it was, but someone released a list of all the attendance figures in Turkey. Göztepe is up there near the top, right? Like it's clubs like that could be
they have the highest
justifiably rewarded with a cup, like that. Imagine that city would be sent into raptures for a week,
but I said, like outside the big three, Galatasaray, Beşiktaş, Fenerbahçe, or Beşiktaş, Galatasaray, Fenerbahçe, or however you want to say it. Galatasaray was on 37,000 average attendance. Fenerbahçe 32,000. Beşiktaş was on 27.6 or something. And then you had Göztepe at 18.5. They were above Trabzon. Their average attendance is higher than Trabzon. And you have to realize, like, they only have like a 25k capacity stadium or something like that. So the majority, like, most of their games are like, for the most part, sold out, because that's a 25k stadium, but there's like, 1.5k or whatever, like minimum of 5% is away section, plus then you have like buffer zone that takes away from the attendance. So I mean, 18,500 average attendance for a club like Göztepe is fantastic, and for a club like that, it would mean the world to win a trophy. And I know their fans are kind of dicks, but they're still really good.
They're dicks in a way that sort of adds flavor to the league, rather than like the Bursa or the Ankara Gücü style of dick.
They can be, like.
Yeah, we've seen some shenanigans.
Kudos to them, man. Kudos that they support Göztepe. It would be much easier for them to support Fenerbahçe or Galatasaray or even Beşiktaş, but instead they support their local club. So kudos to them, even if they're dicks or not.
Yeah, and like one final note on their stadium: it's fairly new, right in the heart of the city. You like that kind of a project, I think, in a way. It's architecturally, it's very brutalist. I'm not a big fan of the style of it, but still, it's nice. You have cities that can sustain clubs in that manner, and they're still actually able to build stadiums and fill them. Murder Mare, it's Göztepe's 100-year anniversary, and 42 years getting this far in the cup.
Yeah.
So perhaps that's a good note to leave this on. Congrats to them. We'll be good sports about this result, because at the end of the day, what are you gonna do?
Saying I'd be rooting for them would be maybe like a little bit of an overstatement, but I I definitely, exactly. I would not, I'd be happy for them and for the club. I think it would be great. I think it would be good for Turkish football, actually. I think it would be great for Turkish football if Göztepe won the cup, because Göztepe winning the cup would what would, if Galatasaray win the cup, what does that do? Like, that's like what their 16th or 17th cup. Like, it doesn't do much for them. They don't need it. They don't need the cup to go to Europe. They're gonna qualify for Champions League either directly or playoffs anyway. So like,
it just gives them bragging rights, and exactly. We don't need them to do this whole we won the double.
Gives them another trophy. I don't Galatasaray, I don't even remember what. I think it's been a long time since they last won the double, so I don't want to, I don't want to see. But there's one last thing I'd like to say is, like, of course Ole makes mistakes, but every coach makes mistakes. Look at Okan Buruk. He's now, he's closing in on a third title in a row, and like, he makes massive mistakes. I think the mistakes that Ole makes, and of course the sample size is much smaller, but the mistakes Ole makes are so insignificant compared to the mistakes that Okan Buruk makes tactically, and even the mistakes Jose Mourinho makes. So
think about how much more limited our squad is
compared to theirs. Exactly. So obviously I feel like it's our job to criticize when we see a mistake, an obvious mistake. It's our job to criticize them, but that doesn't mean like that we want Ole out or anything like that. No. I mean, I'm 100% behind Ole. I really want to see what he does with the team, with the squad. Given the chance to start rebuilding it in the summer, I really want to see what he does, and we'll start judging him more harshly. Well, I mean, I think we'll be a little bit harder on him next season once he's had a summer, once he's had a full training.
I mean, he merits it.
Exactly. I mean, look, like, I think if this club doesn't just spiral into chaos again like it did in November, I don't see a reason why. I don't think that I don't see a reason why he won't be still here at the end of next season, because I think he has a very capable coaching staff around him, and I think if the board can create a stable working environment and sustain a stable working environment for him, I have the utmost confidence in Ole to succeed at Beşiktaş. And succeeding.
Same. I back you 100% on what you just said. Just real quickly, Kan 2.0. Before you finish that thought, can you clarify what you mean by that, Khan 2.0? Elucidate? Sorry, go ahead, Khan.
Yeah, no, it's just like succeeding is like, what is succeeding, right? Like, I think succeeding to me doesn't mean that he needs to win the championship, you know? Not straight away, at least. Like, I mean, I hope to see him at the club for many years and build something and build towards another championship. But I think realistically, where we are right now, where our rivals are right now, it's very much comparable to last season, where there's a big gap. Not as big as last season, because as we've shown this, we've beaten them both. And that is something we weren't capable of last season. And that's changed already. So we can see that head to head with them, we can hang. We can beat them. Now we just need to make sure that we're more ruthless in the smaller games, so that we can make quick work of, the Konyaspors, the Gaziantep's, the Göztepe's. Like, we need to be able to beat those teams consistently, and that is the next step. And I if I look at the tactical plan Ole had yesterday, I don't see a reason why we wouldn't be able to take that step with Ole. And then once we take that step, I think we are already competing. And that doesn't mean winning, but I think if we make that step, and if we can sustain our ability to beat them, at least at home, then next season there's no reason why we shouldn't, at this stage in the competition, there's no reason why we shouldn't be within at least, 10 points. And that's, of course, assuming they're going to have another, 85% win rate season again, which, I don't know. I said this past summer that's not very realistic for this season, and then they went and did it again, so I'm going to refrain from commenting on that. But,
Okay. Con 2.0. If anyone saw, I was just feverishly searching my phone to see if there was political news that I needed to be aware of. He said, Tayyip out. I was like, oh my God, did something happen? And of course he means Tayyip Talha. Fair enough. Yeah, we all agree with you on that one, Con.
Oh my God.
I thought we already covered that.
Right.
See, I thought that was already like an agreed on subject, and that we were just moving on to, anyhow.
Don't worry, Count 2.0.
My mind was running just now.
We'll be doing our Mary F. Kill episode, or rather the, what is it? Play, bench, sell episode. We'll be doing it at the end of the season, so we'll be...
Or no, loan, play, or sell, right?
I think it's like play. It's like starter or something. Starter, bench / loan, or sell.
Oh, start, bench, loan, or sell. How about that? That's how we do it.
Yeah. So we'll be doing that at the end of the season. Don't worry.
That's right. I think for now we can call it.
Yeah, we do. I still have to upload this to Spotify and stuff, so it's gonna take a while. It's like a 2 gigabyte file.
And it's super late. We got a late start.
It is.
So stay tuned, folks. Our next match is on Monday. It's what month is it? April 7th. We're going to be hosting Kasim Pasha, which is our eternal boogeyman. Yeah, those freaking jerks.
This is the black sheep.
So don't be too worried if we don't get a result. That always happens with these jerks. But let's hope we do.
Though, right? Because now that top 4 is really important for us, and top.
Yeah, exactly. Or even top 3. Yeah. Like we just put ourselves back into the hunt for top 3 with our defeat of Galatasaray and their loss at the weekend. So let's hope we can put this result behind us. Or let's hope we can keep the first 30 minutes of this match and forget the rest of it and just build on it, because we were going in the right direction. But so stay tuned for that. We will be back maybe post-match on Monday. I guess we'll have to talk about that with Khan. I don't know if our guy Karto, he won't be back yet.
He's
for
back
that
on
one,
the
sadly.
13th, so he won't be back.
So yeah, you'll see him 2 episodes from now.
Yeah, maybe.
So stay tuned for that, or 3. I don't know, whatever it is. Soon, he'll be back soon. But as always, and it's really important that I do say this on a day like this. Let's go, Beşiktaş! Peace out, everybody. Let's see him. Who's on the list? Özkan Zersavacı, Atilcan, The Bull, Malak, Paul O'Connor, Nathan, Mr. Baseball Davis, happy opening day, sir. Finnish, not Swedish, kebab, Tristan Cray, Michael Berry, Umer, Mr. Positive Kunal. Wait, did I say Kunal already? Anyway, Jara, the Irishman Henty, Mario 1 and the 2 and the 3 Vargas, Nihal Tariq, Sebastian, the not sporting director Heinz. See, it's Sebastian with an A. That was a different Sebastian. I knew it. The Vigilante Turk, the Punisher, Nasser, Mr. Man U / Beşiktaş, and of course, the indomitable, indubitable, indefatigable, the financier, the Dutch Eagle. Peace out, everybody. Boom, boom, boom.